want to make a bit of
gold.
You should do what I did. Get into...
Stacking.
See this? I got this.
Stacking creeps.
Comes out of the fucking...
Jungle.
I couldn't believe it. You see that? It's made of...
Gold.
It's actually made of...
Gold.
You kill it, you got free...
Gold.
Fucking hell.
Stacking is good. Like, really good. It's a mechanic that's always been present in Dota 2 since time immemorial. But it's easy to forget just how much stacking has been buffed time and time again and how rewarding it is. This video is here to tell you exactly how to get the most out of stacking and how it can severely boost your gold and XP income, regardless of whether you find yourself in a support or core role. I release videos on a weekly basis, mostly of the teaching variety, and I would highly appreciate a thumbs up and a follow here on my YouTube channel. It's your interest and viewership that helps my content grow greatly. Most people are aware of stacking as a concept. It's one of the most fundamental things that people pick up fairly quickly as they start their initial journey into Dota 2 as a whole. Like I briefly mentioned, there's been a slew of buffs towards stacking in recent patches ever since 7.33, so stacking camps, even if just a few rather than none, has a seriously big impact on your performance and game success. When you stack a camp by pulling it before the respawn time, a new camp of neutral creeps appear in its place. But exactly what is the math that is at play here for the stacker, and the one that takes out the camp? For starters, if you yourself is the one stacking the camp before taking it out, there's actually a 15% penalty to both XP and gold for taking out the newly spawned creeps. That's right, it's not unusual for many to believe that stacking a camp simply doubles the value entirely, but that is not true, and you're actually getting a lower return on the second spawn than the first initial camp. On the other hand, if you stack the creeps and someone else on your team takes it out, this 15% penalty is entirely cut off, meaning that the person taking the creeps gained a full 100% value on both XP and the gold. The big buff that has befallen stacking as of recently though, is that on top of the killer of the camp gaining that 100%, you gain a whole 30% XP and gold on every spawn creep from stacking. This leads to an insane amount of gold and XP change coming your way as a team. And by you, for an example, stacking an ancient camp 3 times, you're essentially farming an entire ancient camp of your own, when an ally on your team clears it for you, with your ally getting 4 times the gold and XP, and you almost getting a full camp in return. In short, if we take the median of a triple stack camp, meaning that there's 4 spawns inside of the creep camp, the average gold and XP of it becomes 656 gold and 1256 experience for the killer of the camp, plus 147 gold and 282 experience for the person having done the stacking, which results in a total gold and experience change of 803 gold and 1538 experience net change to the team killing a stack camp in this fashion. This kind of net change is absolutely massive, and looks more akin to getting a kill on a high level hero with a large kill streak to their name. But this just proves just how much there is to be gained from stacking in general. Of course, it should be added that there is a potential massive risk factor included in this. If the camp that's been stacked in this fashion is cleared by the enemy, they reap the entire 100% value to their own team, with the stacker getting a big fat 0 in return. So a player has to be very careful that this does not occur. So what do we do with this information? Does it mean we should just now firmly plant our feet in jungle as supports or cores, and use the majority of our time on stacking when available? No. Stacking is but one of the many important and beneficial layers of Dota 2, a game which has notoriously many of those. Stacking is one of those things that are still best incorporated into your game as a thing you should just sort of be doing when the time is right for it. For an example, if you're moving yourself through your own jungle and your eyes hover up to the clock, it's not uncommon that you can quickly pull a camp or 2 and stack them. And while those camps might not be cleared immediately, especially if the pull happens early game, it's still a sizable gold and XP bounty that you'll be claiming later. Assuming the enemy doesn't take it, of course. By keeping constantly aware of the timer as soon as we're relatively close to creep camps, it becomes that much easier to do it as you teach yourself to do so, provided that you're not urgently needed elsewhere. Lastly, there are certain heroes of the roster that are able to stack with a bit more ease than others, which makes it significantly easier to build up stack camps efficiently as the game goes on. Creeps will roughly aggro to a hero that attacks them within approximately blink dagger range and a bit further, which is about 1200 to 1300 units of distance. With this information, we can use abilities such as Silencer's Arcane Curse, Muerte's Deadshot, or Shadow Demon's Shadow Poison to stack camps that are quite far away from us, without having to go up close and attack them. Using abilities, especially on supports that are able to pull creep aggro and stack camps in this fashion, will very quickly rack up added gold and XP to you and your team, and it's a very healthy thing to add to your game plan. A last mention also goes out that creeps can be stacked by bringing them airborne. The most famous one for this happens to be Kunkka. As long as creeps are not blocking the camp itself, the camp will stack for good. While stacking isn't mandatory by any means, learning to do it on a regular, and making it something that you kind of just do by second nature, will add a significant boost to your value as a player and your odds of winning. Stacking usually doesn't occur because people don't necessarily want to, but because in the heat of the game, tend to forget to do it. Given that Dota 2 is not unlike spinning more than 3 plays at once with only one hand, I highly encourage players to be more keenly aware of the timer as they play the game. And the next time they are close enough to creep camps, consider stacking them to earn that little bit of extra income and XP for yourself and that of your team.